Hi, my name is Vincent Noska, and I am a student at Moraine Valley Community College. And this is my presentation on the attachment theory by Mary Ainsworth. Mary Ainsworth was born on December 1st, 1914, in Glendale, Ohio. She would begin her life of child psychology when she was 15, as she read a famous William McDougall book called The Character and the Conduct of Life. This would inspire her to her lifelong interest in psychology as she went on to attend the University of Toronto to major in psychology. She would go on to earn her PhD and would join the Women's Corps in 1942. After this, she would get married to Leonard Ainsworth in 1950 and would move to England shortly after. However, in 1960, she would divorce her husband and return to the U.S., where she would have to undergo therapy. She would teach at the University of Virginia for the remainder of her career upon her return to the United States. When she worked at the University of Virginia, she began working on creating an assessment to measure attachments between moms and their children. She would come up with the strange situations assessment after doing research on the mothers and their after doing research on mothers and their children. This would lead her to her conclusion that there are three main styles of attachment: secure, anxious avoidant, or anxious resistant. This is where she would conclude her famous attachment theory, as much of the information would come from the strange situations assessment. Before Ainsworth's attachment theory and strange situation examination, there was some understanding of attachment up to this time, as John Bowlby's wrote an article about attachment called 44 Juvenile Thieves in 1944. In this article, Bowlby's used a combination of case studies and statistical methods to examine children and their parents and how attachment led to future child development issues. His final assessment concluded that emotional disorders and delinquency can be found in early attachment-related experiences. He specifically noted that separation from or inconsistent or harsh treatment by mothers and fathers or other men in the mother's life led to many emotional issues. This article would really be the first step into attachment issues between parents and children. And when Ainsworth came up with the strange situations assessment, this would be the next big step into understanding attachment issues. Strange situation assessment is a test created to explore childhood attachment patterns. The procedure begins with the child and his mother in a room where the child is allowed to play and explore alone. A stranger enters the room, talks to the mother, and approaches the child while the mother leaves the room. After a short period of time, the mother comes back and reunites with the child. The mother and the stranger will then leave, and the child is left to play alone. The stranger then will come back and attempts to interact with the child. The mother will then return not too long after for a second reunion as the stranger then leaves. Throughout the procedure, the child is observed on four aspects: play behavior, reactions to departure and to the mother's return, and behavior when the stranger is around. And the result of this is that a child is said to have a secure attachment when he is able to freely explore when the mother is around, interacts with the stranger when the mother is present, but not when she is absent, shows distress when the mother leaves, and is happy to see the mother upon return. Because of these assessments, Mary came up with the attachment theory. Mary Ainsworth identified three attachment styles: secure, anxious ambient insecure, and anxious avoidant insecure. The attachment theory holds that infants need a secure attachment to thrive, while anxious attachments can lead to problems. For instance, a child that is not consistently cared for and protected by their caregiver is going to have these issues of anxiety and insecurities. Children that are considerably cared for by the caregiver are going to have more trust in people and the world around them as a result. With time, more research and experimentation has gone into this theory, and more has been added to it since Mary's theory was published and well known. Today, the technique of Ainsworth's strange situation assessment is mostly used in psychiatry and psychology to examine the attachment pattern between mother and a child, as well as to understand the development of coping patterns or relationship patterns and the underlying reason of a person's emotional difficulties. There would be a fourth attachment added to the theory by Ainsworth, which was added by two psychologists named Main and Solomon. Because of the observations that Ainsworth concluded that there were three major styles of attachment: secure attachment, ambient insecure attachment, and avoidant insecure attachment, researchers were able to build off this and make additions. Two psychologists by the name of Mary Main and Judith Solomon were able to add a fourth attachment style known as disorganized insecure attachment. Numerous studies have been done to be able to support Ainsworth's conclusions, as well as Mary Main and Judith Solomon's additional fourth attachment. Additional research has also shown us that these early attachment styles can help predict behavior later in life. And with the fourth addition, researchers are able to more clearly identify an attachment style or situation. Mary would live until she was 85 years old, until a stroke sadly took her life. However, her achievements and theories would help progress child psychology a lot, as many people were able to help children and parents because of her theory. Her theory would be crucial to understanding how children turn the way they do when they grow up, and how parents can do a better job so that their child feels secure and stable so they are able to thrive. The theory by Ainsworth would also keep developing as time went on, as Main and Solomon were able to add to it and help child psychologists even more in understanding how childhood can support a child's future brain development. And for my reference page, the first reference is a reference to a .gov site that was able to give me lots of information about the previous attachment theories before Ainsworth, and it was also able to give me much insight as to Mary Ainsworth's life and the experiments that she went through, including the strange situations assessment. The second reference is to the textbook, and that is all. Thank you very much.